Hey there, listeners. Casey here. I just wanted to pop in with a special note about this episode of the podcast. We were talking a lot about a Nintendo Direct we suspected would be dropping any day now, and so it happens, Nintendo, of course, decided to drop a Nintendo Direct Mini about 30 minutes before I started editing this podcast. Now, I definitely wanted to make sure we covered, at least briefly, all the new titles and revelations they dropped in our laps today. So I'm going to come back with this little special impromptu recording I'm doing from somewhere I'm not used to recording and with some improvised equipment I was able to find. But we will go in-depth next podcast about this, and maybe we'll even have a full direct by then. Who knows? So I'll see you guys in a little bit.
This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Ryan McFarland, our honored patron and most noble Switch Knight. Hola, mis amigos. Yo soy Casey.
Hey, yo soy JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Nintendo Switch devotees. And we have an exciting episode for you guys today. We are sitting on a razor's edge of content and anticipation as the entire community just holds its breath waiting for just big stuff.
I don't know how long I could take it, Casey. I've been anxious all day in anticipation for anything that Nintendo can throw at us.
I mean, it started off, we just mentioned last week a couple of rumors that it might be a direct today on the 11th, but the community has just been really snowballing with this, and every little hint as when it's going to happen, just the internet's exploded with memes and just people predicting when it's going to happen, and I think Nintendo's been feeding on this too. They've been totally trolling us this whole week.
I think they have to be aware of just how much everyone is chomping at the bit for something, and it's incredibly important for people that we get some sort of Nintendo Direct announcement soon.
Yes, it's almost been exactly a year since the big one that we got at the beginning of 2017 that really set the game plan and set the tone for what to expect for the year. Right,
absolutely. We rely on this type of Nintendo Direct to really showcase just what we as Nintendo Switch fans should expect for the rest of the year. And this is why everyone is just so hyped and in anticipation for an announcement on this Nintendo Direct. It's really important.
It's so weird because it's so intangible. There's not like anyone really expects something specific. We're not waiting for specifically the Metroid 4 announcement or the Pokemon one. No one's really expecting anything specifically. It's the promise of something. Yeah.
Absolutely. It definitely hasn't helped that Nintendo and even other companies are really throwing little, cutesy memes and images and
tossing fuel on the fire. I saw that one GameStop did, and they posted a tweet that sounded like a automated tweet that was supposed to indicate the Direct was coming in 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And then he deleted it. And part of me, maybe it was just an automated thing and it had the wrong date set to it. And then a part of me is like, maybe they did that on purpose just so people would start freaking out and talking about GameStop for a few minutes.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I can definitely see if it was a missed date for an automation, or if it was an intentional ploy to get more marketing their way. But it's both exciting and exhausting, Casey. Especially for us as content creators. We want to be able to talk about this Nintendo Direct as soon as possible.
We were debating if they announced something we might have recorded tomorrow night just to catch it. But I will promise you guys this, as a fail-safe plan, and especially since you're leaving for something we're going to talk about in a minute tomorrow night, but we did have a fail-safe plan that if they do have some sort of surprise direct and just totally, mess with us by not letting us hear about it in advance, I will do a impromptu, just a solo quick rundown of all the news and announcements. It'll probably be like a 10-15 minute show at most, but it'll just feed you the basic info. and we'll post that on the feed, and JV and I will have our full in-depth, tearing it apart next week, if that happens.
I feel like this actually happened pretty recently on this podcast before. No, actually, you're right. I believe either it was E3 or the March release. We did something similar where it didn't quite, a big announcement didn't quite fit our schedule, but we did a small episode and then went in depth the next day.
Yeah, it's really tricky, and it's just hard for us because you and I do not have very many windows where we're both available. I mean, I'm running my Switch Fest tomorrow, and that's only this week because that stupid bomb cyclone delayed it a week.
Bomb cyclone.
No, but you know what? Beside all that, we have more tangible things that I'm excited for you.
Yes. So if you guys don't know, I will be heading over to PAX South this coming weekend, and I'll be part of a really cool panel there.
Yeah, you're going to be doing some sort of like game show or something there?
Yeah. So it's like a Family Feud style game show. It's going to be called the Street Pass game show. It's going to be at 9 p.m. on Friday. So, once everything's dying down and people like the exhibition hall is closed and people are really looking for something else to do, we'll have a really fun game show that's Nintendo themed that people will be able to participate and have fun with.
Very cool. And that was organized by, was it Ms. Silver, right?
Yes. I definitely want to give a quick shout out to Ms. Silver, who's hosting the whole thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. My role, as always, is, being the technical dude. I'm essentially going to be a part of the judging team of figuring out whether your answers are correct and handling the interface that you all are going to be joining in.
Awesome there.
Yeah, but every single PAX that I can go to is a ton of fun, and it's one of those conventions that really transcends other types of conventions for me.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a lot of fun. I did already see a couple of indies are planning on having a little booth set up there, so you might even get your hands on a few little upcoming Switch titles, I think.
Absolutely, and if I run into anything that might go on the Switch, I'll definitely do what I can to cover it.
Yeah, and if any of you guys are going to be down there, don't hesitate to tweet at either one of us and see if you want to, meet up with JV or check out his panel. I'm sure you'd be happy to meet some Switch cats.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm excied to see if I can run into any Switch cast listeners. But I definitely am excited to see the indie showcase over there and see what potential Nintendo Switch games will come out in the future.
Awesome.
Oh, speaking of which, I definitely want to have a quick correction regarding what I mentioned previously in the last week's episode. So we did talk about Brawl Out, and I had quite a few impressions of it. Though I do have to make a correction regarding the microtransaction capabilities there. Our really enterprising fellow reached up to us and gave us a bit of a...
They noted an error.
Yes, they definitely pointed something out regarding the microtransactions. The whole microtransaction system in the Brawl Out Nintendo Switch game doesn't actually allow for direct money purchases. So while the system does utilize external currencies, you can't actually throw money at them. So
okay.
So I definitely want to make sure that's cleared up as much as possible. And thank you for pointing that out. Definitely want to make sure it's as clear as possible. No, you can't actually throw money at them.
I want to thank our listeners. A couple of people did point that out to us. And if anyone else ever notices something that we say, we're not perfect, we might make a mistake or two, we're totally welcome and happy to have corrections so that we may cast as accurate a view of any game that we review.
Absolutely.
All right. So anyway, we just have a few headlines, some news, and we have some great feedback from the community to go over this week. So why don't we first shift gears into the game time and talk about what we've been playing?
Yeah, let's shift gears and go.
All right, so let's start things off with a little black and white dueling game that you've been playing.
Yeah, so I've actually been playing InVERSUS. which I picked up mostly because it's actually on sale right now with eShop sale going on.
Oh, right. The New Year's sale.
Yeah, the New Year's sale. And this was one of the games that was on sale, so I took advantage of that price discount to pick this up.
Oh, cool.
So if you guys haven't heard of it already, InVERSUS is a multiplayer arena shoot-'em-up game. So kind of think of Astro Duel or maybe Geometry Wars Versus. And it's in that pretty similar vein. It looks really simple from initial viewing because it's just a bunch of geometric figures, but actually it has quite a bit of hidden depth to it, Casey. This is something that I really didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did.
So I had a hard time following what's going on the screen sometimes, just watching videos of this, and it looks like you're fighting over control of the board with your, and you can only move in your own color or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. The basics are really simple. You're essentially either a black or white square on a grid-based map with, your primary objective being to hit and eliminate the enemy squares of the opposite color. Those squares are controlled by opponents, so this is a multiplayer game. And
up to how many? Is it 2-player max or more?
So you can go up to 4 players, so it's 2v2 or 1v1.
Gotcha.
Well, one team being black, one team being white, 1 or 2 players each. Now, the gameplay itself is really straightforward. You have a limited total of 5 bullets that you can fire in the 4 cardinal directions. Uh-huh. So up, down, left, right, and in whichever speed you want. So you can spam the bullets to shoot out fast, or just fire and shoot slowly individually. The bullets are limited, so while they do recharge over time, they do recharge at a pretty slow rate. So whenever you fire a bullet, you want it to be as deliberate as possible. Now, you can hold down one of the directions to charge a shot, so that you can expend 3 bullets to make it a wider shot. So 1 bullet shoots in one direction in 1 row, while a charged up shot shoots in 3 rows right next to each other. So it's a wider shot and covers more ground. And you can even pick up these power dots that give you a single fast moving bullet that you can use to quickly strike the target. So if they're right there in a vulnerable position, you can go bam, travels really quickly, and it's very hard to dodge.
Okay. So you're combining actually attacking them with maybe the tactics of cutting off escape routes.
Right, exactly. The twist and crux of this game is that maneuverability thing. Each player can only move around in spaces that are the opposite color of them. So white square players can only move around in black squares and vice versa. Yeah. However, whenever you shoot a bullet, the spaces that the bullets cover will be transformed into the traversable ground for yourself. So if you shoot forward, all of the squares, all of the spaces that your bullet covered are now movable for you. So you can just shoot a bullet and follow the bullet to wherever you need to go.
So it's kind of like a twin stick Splatoon.
Kind of. It's actually a pretty decent way to put it. And that's really where a lot of the depth and strategy comes into play. So pretty much unlike most other multiplayer arena shoot-'em-up games like this, your bullets kind of serve a dual purpose. It gives you more room to move and essentially lowers your opponent's space where they can move. And it's a projectile that your opponent has to dodge in order to stay alive. So it's both space and the projectile used to kill your opponent.
That's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, it's cool because once you're actually playing the game, there's a lot of depth in judging when you should expend a bullet to increase your territory, or when you should use this bullet to corner an opponent, while also keeping in mind that they can kind of do the same to you. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of these quick decisions that you have to make constantly, and it's a bunch of your mindset is really focusing on how many bullets do I have at a time? How much space do I have to move? Oh, I'm getting cornered. Don't have that much space. I don't think I can expend my bullets to counterattack. I should really use this bullet to make a path for myself so I can escape to the other side of the map. And those types of things are what actually make this game more interesting than I expected initially. And you have to keep in mind, all these quick decisions have to be made snappily, because it is the same pace and speed of the standard arena shooter game. So it's a lot of quick thinking, but there's depth to this that I did not expect, Casey.
Are there alternate modes of play? Like, are there different arenas or any other kind of like things you could tweak?
The maps themselves are actually just different shaped variations of the black and white grid, though lots of maps do have gray dead zones that you can't shoot through or traverse, and they even have warp edges that let you move from one edge to the other, kind of like in Pac-Man, where, you know, when you go over the edge of one side, you appear on the other. It's just like that. And that adds a lot of tactical depth because you can move back and forth. Bullets don't cross over to the other side, so you really have to, it really gives you maneuverability, and it adds a lot of mind games to this genre that I did not expect.
All right.
Now, this is a deluxe version, so there are actually a lot of modes in this game. And yeah, it's pretty decent, the amount of modes that you can utilize. So I mentioned previously there is the standard 1v1, but you can do 2v2 as well. And it also included an arcade mode that I thought was pretty interesting, Casey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like a InVERSUS version of Geometry Wars, where you fight waves of AI enemies for points. And it actually works surprisingly well if you like that type of genre. It's not the primary focus of the game because they really focused on the versus multiplayer aspects, but it works really well if you want to just play by yourself or co-op with someone else.
No, that's always good, you know, because games like that have just the multiplayer focus, it's such a shame when they go to waste when you don't have anyone else to play with, and you almost feel like you're losing touch with the controls. In fact, with the game I'm playing, I got really used to the controls and all the complicated things I could do. I took a 2-day break and I came back and I felt like I could do nothing. And I just,
exactly.
I feel like this is the kind of game where I need to get all those, muscle memories coming back.
Yeah. Now, I want to say that what impressed me the most was that this game actually comes with online multiplayer for all of the modes.
That's cool.
Yeah, you can access all of the versus modes and even co-op arcade modes in online multiplayer, which is, you know, you should know it's pretty surprising for this type of game. You almost always expect this type of game to be exclusively local.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed that, something this simple, they took that extra step and the online multiplayer.
Yeah.
Where we're still hoping to hear more about what the Switch Online is going to be like when the Direct finally comes around, so we can see what else they're going to do with this. But seeing more games, even especially the smaller games that are willing to commit and provide that, you know, it's encouraging. It's encouraging.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this isn't the type of game that you would expect online multiplayer for. You kind of expect it to be exclusively local because, you know, it takes a lot of time and investment to set up a netcode for your game.
Yeah, and honestly, although that usually is a pretty big turnoff, it's because it's hard enough to get people to play things unless they've also bought it. So so having an online source of competition provides all the fun I need with those things.
Yes, the online multiplayer right now isn't that populous.
No.
So it does take quite a bit of time for online multiplayer lobbies to go into the actual game, but they did include the ability to play local games fully while you're waiting for a lobby to fill up, so that really helps pass the time while you're playing.
Okay, that's not bad. How you estimate how long it took you to get a match?
Probably about 5-6 minutes before I could get a full game going.
Okay.
So it is a long wait, but since I had a local lobby going, it didn't feel like I was missing out on the gameplay experience since I was playing the full game while waiting for an online game to go up.
Hey, honestly, to put in perspective though, I've had to wait regularly 3 or 4 minutes to get a Pokken Tournament match going sometimes. So that's really, in perspective, not that bad. It's
not too bad.
Yeah.
And I got this game for $10 since it was on sale, but the normal price is $14.99, and I think that's actually a pretty decent price for it. If you can pick it up on sale right now for $10, I would say go for it. If you know that you're going to play with other people in a local setting, or if you're willing to wait to play this type of game with online multiplayer, I say pull the trigger.
Very cool. Oh, nice worded there. I also pulled the trigger quite a bit. In the game I've been playing this week, I went back. This game came out actually in October, but I've been really meaning to, get into, Axiom Verge. Now, this is the Metroid-like game that feels like a real Metroid game in that it has
really?
all the real core elements of that genre that I haven't gotten anything like in a long time, other than playing Super Metroid on the SNES Classic, which I did actually do recently. So I have a pretty close comparison here to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Axiom Verge is definitely a bit more of a mature theme, though. This game takes place in a very bizarre kind of world, and you play this physicist who is working in a lab experiment goes awry or something, the place collapses, and then you wake up in this other strange world with some voice talking to you and giving you instructions on how to like find your first weapon and where to go and stuff. And so there's a little bit of a mystery of where you are. Right. And there's actually a pretty interesting story going on here with some interesting twists. I won't spoil too many of them, but I'll just say that you do find yourself on this other world that's, somehow maybe like interdimensionally connected to our own. And it is plagued by a force called the Breach. The best way to describe what the Breach is glitches. It's like
glitches. Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy how it works in the game. Like there'll be certain doorways that you can't get through because the graphics are glitched out. And this game, it has like classic 16-bit graphics, but it's a very cool art style. It's very dark and mysterious and feels very alien.
So, is it self-aware?
They call it the Breach. So they don't really call it glitches, but it's supposed to be some kind of force. And you kind of know what it is. I'll say I've beaten the game, but I don't think I've gotten the best ending yet. I think it has that Metroid thing where you have to beat it in a certain time and get all the items to get other endings. And I feel like they're going to explain more because there's a lot of unanswered questions about what's happening here that I feel like may come out if I get more of the endings. Or maybe I'll just go on the Reddit now that I've beaten it. I might read up on what I specifically need to do and maybe some plot analyses.
Right. Now, the crux of these types of games are the exploration elements. How do you explore things in this game? How is that element to it?
Yeah, so it has, like I said, it has all the Metroid features in that you are gonna, you can go into different sections. It has those same kind of tubes that like, Samus would go through, and you don't have to shoot a bubble open of them, but it looks very similar. And you will acquire tools that will make certain places more accessible. The tools they give you are very cool. You will get like a grappling hook, which is similar to Samus. You get a gun this is a really cool item you use. It's a gun that can either decorrupt certain glitched out things. Like I said, there's like those walls you need to de-glitch before you can drill through them and stuff. But you can use it on enemies to corrupt them, and now they glitch out, and it causes them to act in different ways. Maybe it's different for every monster. Like some monsters might just not take damage unless you glitch them out first, but it might make their attacks more dangerous. Some, it just slows them down or makes their weapons fire in a different way that's a little easier to manage. Some of them just causes them to act really weird. Like I glitch out this one enemy, and now the enemy only moves when I move. And it's just like so weird what it causes them to do. It really feels like you're breaking the game in weird ways.
So, are there any references to the game being self-aware enough to know that it's a game and that these breaches are, manipulating with the game code in a way?
Nothing along those lines. I definitely wouldn't say that. They just talk about the breach as being some sort of otherworldly force, and it is part of the plot that why it's there, and but nothing about it refers to it being a game thing, like the game being self-aware. So that's why I'm very interested in this mystery of the game. And I've met some there are characters that you meet, like there's on the cover, you'll see like that big giant white head that the character's looking at. And there's a few of those giant heads that you meet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's a plot behind them, and one of them is talking to you, and why they called you here to fight the villain who has who's caused the trouble there. Again, I won't spoil too much because I actually did find myself very much driven by the plot and trying to find out and finding out pieces, because some of the items you find even in the game aren't like power-ups necessarily, but you'll find communications or like old records of what happened on the planet, and there's not a lot of them, but they're pretty interesting. And there was even like a aha moment in the game where I'm like, oh, I think I know what's going down here. And
okay.
Yeah. So it's like,
it definitely sounds like there's a lot more story involved in this game than I initially expected.
Yeah.
So that's a really nice surprise.
Yeah. And I definitely would go back and play this game through another time. Also, I wanted to mention one of the coolest little exploration tools you get. You get this drone ability where you shoot out this egg and it hatches a little spider creature, and
nice.
It can go and crawl around, and like it's kind of like the equivalent of your morph ball in that it can go into like small crevices.
Okay.
But it's also...
So it's a way to morph ball without actually having the actual morph ball itself.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool, and it actually has its own little weapon system that's fun. You get a lot of different weapons in this game, though. They're not all required to be found. I don't think any of them are like necessarily a requirement. But the boss fights in this game, having the right weapon for the right boss makes a huge difference. Some of them really are exponentially harder to kill if you don't have a weapon that behaves in a certain way. And they all do different things, like ones that have area of effects and ones that just do giant spread shots or ones that shoot through barriers. They're really fun to use, and you could switch through them pretty quickly with the quick slots that you have. But I was just finding myself using all of them in different situations, and I enjoyed the combat.
So when it comes to the actual bosses, can you approach them in different orders, kind of like in Mega Man? Or is it a linear progression?
I think that I probably had to fight them in a certain order because I'm pretty sure most of them were behind locked areas that I couldn't get to unless I got an item that the previous boss was guarding. So you do have to... And the game does, like, at least for the first, let's say, quarter of the game, you really have to follow the map in a certain order, and you'll only be able to go one way. And then once you get about 25% of your way through the game, that's when, all right, let me go explore and see what I could find. And then you find a whole bunch of stuff, and then you're like, okay, where did I meet doors that I couldn't get through? And then you have to figure out what tools you now have that let you get through some of them.
So, classic Metroidvania backtracking.
Yeah. Eventually did. I feel like, and I know Metroid didn't have this, but I feel like this game could have benefited from a fast travel or shortcut system. It has one thing where there's like this one long passageway right through the middle of the world that if you get to that passageway, there's a quick travel thing you could ride from one end of the map to the other, which does give you a little bit of a fast travel, but I wish I could just zoom around. Maybe I've been spoiled by Xenoblade, just letting me,
And I think Castlevania has that type of system too. You can teleport between save points.
Yeah, it had the different, teleport rooms that you can use, those little keyholes, right? Those were pretty handy for fast traveling around that giant map. I don't think this map is massive, but it's pretty darn big.
Okay. Now, this is... obviously it is inspired by the Metroidvania genre. Do you think, is this something that you would recommend to people who want to scratch that Metroidvania itch?
Absolutely. This is so up that alley, and it's done really well. Every aspect of it. It's the kind of game I've been waiting to play since Super Metroid. I don't feel they've made another game like this. Like, they've made Metroidvanias, like they have the Castlevania ones that do their own thing, and I love Symphony of the Night. That's like one of my favorite games of all time.
Right.
But they've never done another one that feels like in actual Metroid style, and this is a very nice, mature evolution of that. Oh, and the music. I love the music in this game.
Oh, yeah. I could definitely see that there's a set dark theme and overall presence in the game, and I'm assuming the music kind of sets that tone.
See, the music actually is very tense and techno at times. Like early on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like early on, the music is very intense, like techno music that makes you feel like you're under pressure, like what's going on. It kind of makes me feel almost feverish, like I really need to figure out why I'm here and all the crazy alien stuff that's going on. But later on, I just get, this cooler variations, but it's pretty good techno-y music. I was very pumped by it most of the time.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I dig that.
Oh.
So how much was it? And do you think it was worth the price?
This is a $20 game. Totally worth it, especially if you're a speedrunner. There's a speedrun mode that you can actually play it in, and speedrun mode cuts out any dialogue scenes and any random events that might happen and just lets you try to beat the game as fast as you can without any hindrances like that.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, all right, so we've had our fun. Let's move into the news rundown.
Let's do it.
Everybody, here I am. As promised, I'm back with my quick rundown of all the Nintendo Direct revelations in this Nintendo Direct Mini that they just announced today. Now, it was almost entirely new game titles and a few DLC announcements. It was only 14 minutes, so it was a bunch of trailers, and I even kind of suspect that they might not have initially planned to release this Direct today, but I think the spontaneous hype train that ignited this week kind of forced their hand, and they decided to strike while the iron was hot, drop this in our laps, and so here we are today, and I will now begin to go through everything. So the first revelation was The World Ends With You, Final Remix. This is a remake of the 3DS game that I played way back when. Great Square Enix. 10 years ago, actually, this came out. Wow. It used a lot of good touch controls. It was an action RPG. They had a fashion-based gameplay with like these equipment tied to different pieces of pins or gear that you would wear. I think it was tied to the Harajuku region of Japan, which is known for that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a little rusty on my Japanese culture lately. And this is going to release this year with a new scenario, which they said will go to the heart of the story. So perhaps it'll reveal some more mysteries about this world. Next up, we got some DLC announcements for Pokken Tournament DX. As far as everybody that we asked what they expected, we did not see Pokken Tournament DLC coming, though honestly it does make sense with all the other things that have been getting DLC packs. And new fighters, obviously, are one of the big things they're going to have with this. It's been broken up into two waves. The first wave will have Aegislash as a new technical character, as well as the Rayquaza and Mimikyu support set. Wave 2 is going to have Blastoise in addition to a Mew and Celebi support set. You can buy the two waves actually right now, and they will cost $15 if you want them both. There's also going to be some other characters, I believe, as well, and some other support sets, in addition to some extra dress-up options for your avatar there. The first wave is coming out January 31st. The second wave is coming March 23rd. But you can buy the entire bundle of them right now. It's called the Battle Pack, and I believe it's $15. I assume you won't need this to play against the new fighters, so if you don't want Aegislash or Blastoise, you might be able to skip this, and I assume you'll still be able to fight against other people who have it, and this might not mean anything to you. So, there you go. Then they showed off some Kirby Star Allies scenes. They showed us two new copy abilities, including the Artist, which was kind of cute. He had some paintings going on and summoning stuff off the canvas and just whacking people with his brush. And they had the Spider Web one where they would cocoon the enemies up in webbing. That's pretty cool. They also showed off how you could combine some of your friend abilities if you're playing multiplayer, and just, it seems like there's a really wide variety of special attacks that can be had just by whatever combination of players and abilities that you're using at that time, and a lot of teamwork options. They also showed off the new space threat, that's the bad guy that's in this one. And the demo is actually available right now for Kirby Battle Royale, if you want to play the minigame version of it that they have. Usually have one of these little multiplayer battle modes in these games. But the full game is coming out March 16th. They also then showed off quickly that the Dragon Quest Builders demo is actually available right now for anyone who wants to pick that up. Next, they showed off Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. So this is kind of the complete collection of Hyrule Warriors plus all the DLC that came out on both the Wii U version and the 3DS version of the game, including 29 playable characters and all the missions and maps. You can play 2 players on one system with Share the Joy mode. They showed off 1080p graphics and TV mode. And they also have new outfits for Link and Zelda based on their Breath of the Wild fashion. This will be launching spring 2018. Next up, Mario Tennis Aces. This was a pretty colorful looking sports Mario game, which honestly, I always love the Mario sports games. I was really hoping for Strikers to make a comeback. I think I've mentioned that once or twice, but tennis should be fun. And they also showed off, in addition to the crazy powers they have, there is a story mode. This looks actually pretty interesting and might add a little more depth than just one player mode where you compete against and AI opponents. This introduces special challenges they showed, like not just you fighting Donkey Kong in tennis. They had one scene where I saw a whole wall full of piranha plants just teaming up against Mario, and it looked like he had to take them all down to complete the mission. And there were boss fights. I saw like a giant piranha plant fighting him, and there was no net involved, so I wonder if it's more about actually targeting the enemy with your shots and dealing damage in some way like that. So this is coming in spring, and I think this will probably be a pretty fun, especially if it has online multiplayer, which I assume it will, though they didn't explicitly say that here. Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana was then shown off, and I'm assuming I'm mispronouncing something in that, but we'll see. This is a JRPG starring a character named Adol, whose ship is sank. He's now on a desert island full of monsters, and he has to gather survivors and build a base in order to survive. This has a pretty cool concept in that. It looks a little Monster Hunter-y with all the natural creatures. It looked like they come at the base at times, so you have to fend them off, and you have to go seek out possibly a way to escape. It had a cool anime cutscene intro they showed off, and they've delved into the combat a little bit, showing that there's different weaknesses to different monsters, so that you have to take advantage of that in order to slay them. This will be coming out in the summer, and this could be a pretty cool little exploration JRPG. We then got some Super Mario Odyssey information with the free update that'll be coming soon. If you've beaten the main story, and once you've downloaded this DLC, you will have access to the Balloon World mode. This has 2 halves. Once you talk to Luigi, who will be found in various towns, it looks like, you can either go to Hide It mode, where you'll have 30 seconds to hide a balloon somewhere in that location, and that will then tie into people who pick Find It mode, and that will give players 30 seconds to find any balloons they can that other players have hidden while they were doing Hide It mode. So you're going to gain ranks in the leaderboards based on how well you've hidden your balloons, so basically how few people find yours, and how well you find other people's hidden balloons. Pretty cool little crowdsourcing challenge, and it's just a way to really take advantage of the many nooks and crannies there are on every stage, and how you can, just really know the secrets that are there. I think this might be pretty fun, and it's a nice asynchronous way to join some multiplayer and give the game a little more longevity once you're done finding all the moons. They also showed off some new costumes, including a Night Mario, which I thought looked really cool, and some more camera filters for the snapshot mode. This will be available in February, so not too long. Another one that I didn't expect, and I did not even know this existed. This is a SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. This is a fighting game with all girl fighters crossing over from various SNK properties. It's a 2v2 tag team match, as the title might imply. It looked like a pretty nice, anime style fighting game, 2D fighter. They also showed off this Dream Finish feature of the game. Now, I wasn't 100% clear on whether this means that you have to use a Dream Finish in order to defeat an opponent after you get their hit points low enough, or if this is in sort of alternate way to defeat an opponent with a very specific positional super attack that you can use. But anyway, it looks like it could add a interesting spin on combat. And it also added a lot of costume options. It looked like you can totally deck out your fighter in lots of little animated gear and change their entire look for the fight. So that's coming in summer. And then we got also a DLC pack for Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. This adds a new story chapter, which will incorporate Donkey Kong as a new playable character. And I'll say that in this trailer, I've never heard the Donkey Kong theme sound more epic and triumphant than it does with these noble trumpets blowing off in there. It was pretty cool sounding, and this will be due in spring. So then we go over to Payday 2. I think this might be the first time we saw this actually in a direct before, so that's pretty cool. And they mentioned the crime net that you're going to use in order to find multiplayer allies to join you in the 4-player missions that you'll be taking on in this heist game. Then they also showed off there's going to be an exclusive character for the Switch named Joy, who has this cool, crazy LED mask that just changes colors and it kind of looks like one of those signs, those LED signs on the side of a bodega or like a little cart you might see. It showed off pretty cool little things there. And this character will be getting some hacker perks, which I guess you can use to easily bypass computer security on your robbery missions. This is coming out February 27th, so again, not too long from now. We then got what I haven't seen this before, a game called Fae. This takes place in a dark Nordic forest. It's a 3D platformer kind of exploration game. It uses a pretty cool system, though, where it looks like you use the power of music, or you have to sing to characters in tune with them, so that you're going to be using the motion controls in some weird way to do that. And they specified that you're going to need to use the HD rumble to feel the appropriate way to move. I know there's a lot of people who really loved seeing HD rumble used on the Switch games in new and creative ways, so I think that might appease a small but very dedicated set of fans who really like that feature. And that's coming out February 16th. Celeste is a title that I've been looking forward to, and I was happy to see some more details on this. They showed off, it kind of looks like a mountain climbing Super Meat Boy game, but it actually has a few more differences. You have actually the ability to climb on things in here, so you're not just wall jumping, and she has a stamina bar. They showed off that you can climb anything as long as you have stamina in which to hold on. And she has some mid-air dashes. There's a bit of exploration they hinted at. And it just has a very nice, very beautiful aesthetic to it. I just have to say that that's one of the appeals, is that it's not about the gross kills as a lot of games in this genre are. It's a pretty beautiful location. They also seem to want to make it more accessible to a wider number of people. So they've added an assist mode, which will allow you to include various perks while playing through it, including a slower pace of the game, or just flat out invincibility if you want to just run through it, challenge yourself in the easiest way possible, and just maybe enjoy the action itself. They also, on the flip side, there's more challenging B-side chapters, which look, they add extra challenges and just really test your skills if you want to go that direction. And that's coming January 25th. Alright, coming near the end, we have Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which is actually a update of a previous Donkey Kong Country game. This is its debut on the Switch, and they've, they have all the classic characters, Donkey, Cranky, Diddy, Dixie Kong, and they added a new Funky Kong to the game, and they showed off his new moves. He's a surfer guy, he has a surfboard. It looks like he can, step on spikes because he has that. He has a lot of, a little hover ability by spinning it like a helicopter. And they also showed off that it will be including the 2-player co-op mode with Share the Joy controllers, and that will be, May the 4th. Be with you. And then finally, the one thing that I saw tweeted about more than anything else, Praise the Sun is the meme that I just learned today as well. Dark Souls Remastered. It was really just a teaser trailer. We didn't get any details at all. We just know it exists. It's confirmed. Honestly, this is sure to really boost sales for the Switch, because people are going to need replacements once they defenestrate their current systems. So that's that's a good thing, right? This honestly could be the big title we were going to talk about needing to be on the Switch this year. This could be the must-have 2018 title, the scale of which to match something like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Honestly, I've never played a Dark Souls game. I never got into it. I just know that it's such a huge and dedicated and passionate community that it's sure to bring a lot of attention to the Switch. And it's a third-party game. And I think we'll say in this section a little later on how important it is that the third parties kind of carry the year for Nintendo this time, and that they make their mark so that it's not only Nintendo who has to really nail these hit titles. So that's coming out May 25th this year, so get excited, people. I might have to dive into this, I think, because of just the ferocity of the fans for it. Awesome. Yeah, so we're going to really dig into this next week, but I hope that you guys don't mind this very brief rundown of everything here, and I hope you don't mind the change in sound quality, as I am just recording, again, impromptu from not in my home office or my normal recording situation. So anyway, thank you guys. On with the show.
All right, news rundown, and here are your headlines. We've been mentioning the sales figures a lot in the past couple of weeks. I don't like usually making statistics news, but I feel like they keep throwing us really important milestones, and this is a big one.
I mean, if the Nintendo Switch keeps breaking records, I think it's worth mentioning each time it does that. So
yeah,
and they definitely broke a record this time. So Nintendo Switch is officially the fastest selling console in US history.
Boom.
Period.
4.8 million units sold, and it's not even a full year cycle for them yet.
Yeah, it's insane. And this even overtook the Wii, which released 4 million units sold. And you remember just how rabid people got over the Wii.
Yes, that's pretty crazy. And if you think about it this way, the record sales for systems are usually in about the 40 million area. That's like the top selling systems of all time. So if year one, we've hit almost 5 million, I think that, as things even pick up more in the future, it could be well on the road to becoming the best overall selling system, possibly surpassing the number one, which is the DS, followed by a bunch of Sony systems.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Nintendo Switch. Golf claps.
Yes, golf clap. Yeah, so that's always great to hear. Let's just keep riding this excitement. But now getting to some game news. We have some information on Bayonetta 2's new features that'll be added for the Switch version that'll be coming out.
Yeah, so apparently the Tag Climax mode, which is an online co-op mode only available in Bayonetta 2, will now support local play in addition to that online mode. The catch is that each player has to have their own Switch and their own copy of the game. Now you can play multiplayer Bayonetta locally, which is great.
How did that work? Was that like playing the story mode, or was it special missions that were just for that?
That's a good question. They are essentially special stages dedicated to the co-op mode. You unlock the stages by completing the story mode. So and there's a whole betting Halo system where you can bet against your co-op partner to see who would perform a bit better. But it's fun, though it's not something that I necessarily took advantage of that much outside of just single player Bayonetta 2.
Yeah, it's not the kind of game that I typically expect or look for a multiplayer mode in, but I mean Resident Evil Revelations had that too, and that was kind of fun, so maybe I'll consider it.
I don't think the co-op or the multiplayer elements of Bayonetta 2 are as fleshed out as Resident Evil Revelations, but if you and a friend feel like being witches and beating up on some angels, then bam.
Yeah.
You can do it locally now.
They also offer amiibo support that will allow players to unlock some of the Nintendo-themed costumes instantly, rather than working to unlock them like you originally had to, though you still can work to unlock them if you're not an amiibo owner.
Yeah, it's always cool to have amiibo support in any game, and I just love that they're really integrating Nintendo into Bayonetta. It does feel like, at this point, Bayonetta is being more and more associated with Nintendo than ever before.
No, honestly, I forgot. This is coming, though, from someone who never got into Bayonetta. I actually haven't ever played the series myself, but I forgot that it wasn't a Nintendo exclusive property because I just hear so much about it between it being in Smash Brothers and then the, number 3 now being a Nintendo exclusive.
Yes, that's right. Nintendo Switch exclusive.
Yeah. I just was like, oh yeah, this is just a Nintendo property at this point, right? And I was like, no, it just is a lot of activity on Nintendo consoles.
Yeah, but I actually really love this. I love that Nintendo is open to embracing really mature characters like Bayonetta, even including it in something more family-friendly like Smash.
So, Rainway, this is an application that we mentioned not heavily, but it was being talked about as a way to stream various PC games to other devices, like a PlayStation or your phone or the Switch. But in fact, it was even recently shown in a trailer, them using this application to stream games from directly to Switch prominently in this video. But they also recently took off Switch as one of the systems that was supported by it on the website. So now we're kind of not sure if this actually will be coming for Switch or if it's just been delayed, but it seems like it's definitely something they're working on. I just know that some people are kind of, people who like to use the Switch and I don't want to call it, it's not really a hackery thing, but it is just kind of a bending the rules.
Yeah, apparently they were in talks with Nintendo and things are looking well, but it's hard to say whether this will come to fruition on the Switch.
Yeah, it's just clear that they want to do it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have featured it so prominently, but something's snagged and been delayed. So I just know there's a couple of people out there who have been kind of pretty anxious for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, it's time for our monthly debate, JV.
Splatfest.
Yep.
Okay, so this month's Splatfest is action versus comedy. So I'm guessing I'm pretty sure you're team comedy, right?
This is actually the first time I'm not on Pearl's side, so, and yes.
Oh, really?
I think I've been pretty steadfastly on Pearl's end of these competitions.
If that's the case, then I probably was primarily Marina.
Yeah, I think so. So, yes, out of the two, action versus comedy, I guess I'm definitely more a comedy guy. I mean, I'll watch a good Mel Brooks movie any day. I mean, look, I love Die Hard and all that stuff, but
no, for me, I definitely, if I was stuck watching a movie like multiple times or a specific genre of movies, it's always got to be action for me. Like comedy movies don't really do it that much.
All right, I'll say this much. In terms of movies today, I don't think they've made many good comedy movies that I like recently.
Yeah.
When I think of comedy, but I don't go to the movies that often. When I think of comedy, I'm thinking of Robin Hood Men in Tights and the real farcical one, or Airplane, which we just watched recently again.
Right. And see, I don't have that type of connection to any old comedy movies. It never really does it for me that much. So action is definitely the way to go for me. And I even chose action before I even knew what your choice was, Casey. So
I don't assume that you picked just to be a contrarian to me.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting how, but I don't think we ever do that ever. We never decide our team based on what the opposite of the other person is. It just ends up that way every time.
Pretty much. There was one that we were on the same team as, and I was kind of surprised at the one. Which one was that?
Invisibility.
What?
The superpowers, I think.
Oh yeah, superpowers. Right. We were both firmly in team invisibility.
Versus flying. It's flying. Come on.
All right. Well, I almost let this one slip by. We were so distracted by, again, the direct stuff that I almost forgot to get all hyped about, our Splatfesting.
But yeah, absolutely. I love that it's part of our community's culture now. We even come up with different names, variations of our names to fit the teams that we're on. And even if we're not playing the SwitchCaster, or even if we're not playing Splatoon, if you have a side, you change your name and represent. It's a lot of fun.
It's a conversation starter. Like I said, it's a great excuse for us to have these random conversations here on the show.
Absolutely, and it's a ton of fun.
I will say, I feel like that's what's maybe missing a little bit from the ARMS ones that they have.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
Party Crash have.
Yeah, it's character versus character. Mm-hmm. And while that's cool as well, it doesn't have the same wide appeal as the Splatfests.
Yeah, and it's also lacks just that silly factor, just that, I'm fighting for mayonnaise,
Yeah, exactly.
What else can you have that stupid kind of debate?
Right. When it comes to comparing two characters, it's not necessarily as silly. Or
yeah, you don't have some weird,
starting.
Irrational, fierce defense of a character you like in that game necessarily. It's still a cool event, but I just think it's lacking that little charm.
Yeah, it does, and it's characters versus characters, so it's very limited in scope.
Speaking of updates, Splatoon 2 is getting its new arena today, the Schellendorf Institute. I'm sorry, today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this definitely looks like a really cool map, and I'm really excited to hop in and try it out.
Yeah, it looks like a museum of sorts sort of thing there.
Yes. This map is exclusive to Splatoon 2, so it isn't a re-release of a Splatoon 1 map. But yeah, it's indoors mostly, and it looks to be a different change of pace in what we normally see Splatoon maps being.
Yes. We also getting the L3 Nozzle Nose D gun, which is also from the Wii game, and it's coming over. It's always a new gun. We've been getting the guns pretty rapid fire lately.
Yeah, and it's good that they shake up the meta constantly with all these new gun releases. Mm-hmm. The sub is the Burst Bomb, while the special ability is the Inkjet, which can definitely be a boon to some people.
So this was an interesting update ? We mentioned NBA Playgrounds, right? That came out, and we all had the weird problem with delays.
Online mode?
The online didn't release as soon as people wanted, and that they said it would be releasing. They kind of got it all sorted out now with all the extra content that came out for other consoles, but Switch was still waiting for. But they still had problems with getting the update patches approved by Nintendo because they were too big. So what they kind of did as a workaround is they now released as an independent title NBA Playgrounds Enhanced Edition. If you already own regular NBA Playgrounds, you can get this Enhanced Edition for free, but the Enhanced Edition just includes all those updates and the online mode integrated into it, and since it's integrated into an app instead of just being patched, it's a small enough file size that Nintendo approved it, and they work, so you can get this, and of course you could buy it if you haven't bought NBA Playgrounds before. So it's kind of an update. It has all the updates that people have been waiting for in this game. It's just they had to release it as a separate title altogether.
Yeah, so I wonder if other games are going to be following this route of releasing enhanced editions, because this does seem like a workable or loophole to any of Nintendo's restrictions.
It can be. I mean, if anyone else has the same kind of persistent problems. These guys had problems getting their updates in there, but it can't be a cost-effective move. There has to be some drawback to just having two different applications on there for people to download. Anyway, down the pipe, we have quite a few titles here.
There's quite a bit coming out.
Yes, so we got an announcement for Super Cane Magic Zero.
Nice.
So Forbidden Arts coming 2019. Slayaway Camp. This is something I played on iPhone. This is a simple puzzle type game. Have you played this?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's just a game. It's a puzzle type game where you have to slide your character. It's one of those puzzles where once you pick a direction, you move until you hit a wall or something. But it's themed after kind of like a slasher movie, like Jason, but with cutesy pixel art characters. So you're a serial killer and you have to like kill all the characters and before you leave the stage, but you can only move by sliding in one direction at a time.
That's kind of a cool theme for it, and I do like the art style.
Yeah, it's a cute art style. It's just mixed with the really horrible murders that you do while playing.
It is Slayaway Camp.
Yes. SteamWorld 2 is getting a physical edition in the future.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I know a lot of people are super excited about this. When people go about recommending Nintendo indie games, SteamWorld Dig 2 is usually mentioned in that list somewhere. Mm-hmm. So the fact that it's getting a physical release is a big deal to a lot of fans out there.
Yep. We've got something called Turbo Pug DX coming, which was announced. It just looks like one of those like robot unicorn attack kind of games.
Right. Is it single button long runners?
It looks like it could be one of those. Like, yeah. Birthdays, the beginning. This is a interesting twist on a Minecraft style game where you play some alien who comes to a planet and it is a totally blank planet and you just kind of terraform it and create life and manage the life and this evolution of the species that grow there.
So yeah, I can see the appeal of this. Hopefully it's not something super expensive, but it does look like a sandbox that you can kind of just have fun with.
Yes, that's coming early this year, so we might get that soon. Rivals of Aether is an interesting one that I've seen a few people really get into. This is one of those...
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When this game was initially came out on the PC, people were super pumped. They saw it as an alternative to Super Smash Brothers. I think it was one of the first of its kind that really took off with its own community. And I'm excited to see this come to the Switch. In fact, I believe they're even prioritizing putting this out on the Switch.
Yes, I think that's really cool because I've seen some of those communities and the characters, they're all like these anthropomorphic elemental creatures, like a fire lion and an ice bear or whatever like that. But they kind of look cool. It's very like pixely graphics again, like 16-bit kind of characters. But they animate really fluidly and the attacks, it looks like it has very tight controls and it just performs pretty well for what it is.
Yes. Now, this game was built on Game Maker Studio, and right now the development team is looking to see how they can convert a Game Maker Studio game into the Switch platform, and that's a bit tricky.
Okay.
So hopefully they can do that.
Maybe they'll be pioneering that process for others in the future.
Because Game Maker Studio isn't supported on the Switch officially, and there are a lot of big titles out there that people would probably want on the Switch but can't make that transition yet.
Interesting.
Like Undertale was not made on Game Maker Studio.
Oh,
Hyper Light Drifter.
So if someone does crack that, it might pave or at least like clear the way for others to do it a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I saw this one. It's a cool little adventure puzzle game called Old Man's Journey, and I'm not just saying that because I am the old man of the podcast.
And we're on a journey.
It just looks like a very story-driven kind of game with this old, it looks like a retired sailor dude who's reminiscing about the mistakes in his life and trying to resolve I guess, things he did when he was younger. It has a lot of, you have to search for your memories and you're trying to put together your past and fix some problems. It just looks like a nice, cool, emotional little tale in a puzzle game form. And it's a beautiful looking art, yeah.
The art style is, absolutely. The art style is beautiful. It's picturesque, and I can imagine taking a still of that and putting it up and framing it somewhere. And the mood overall feels incredibly melancholic. So if you're in that type of mood to play that type of game, then this might be one to check out.
Oh, this is funny. I only know what this game title means because I've been practicing Duolingo lately.
Okay.
This game is called Pato Box.
Pato Box.
Yeah, so pato is duck in Spanish, and this is a game where you play a boxing duck dude, and it looks like it's not just a Punch-Out style game. It looks like you control, like, explore in first person, and you come up to characters, and you're not just boxing other boxing people. It looks like you get into various situations where you, like, there's a chef who's, like, you know, trying to attack you with soup and stuff like that, and you're dodging and boxing various characters in the world, not just in the ring. It has this cool black and white art style, too, to it.
It reminds me of that Mad World game that came out on the Wii.
Right.
It's purely black and white, but, you know, and it looks hand-drawn, but it's obviously there's 3D elements to it because you're moving around in 3D.
Yep. That's coming out this year. And then there's this one, I have no idea how this works. I even watched the video, but I'm intrigued by the concept of Oh Sir, the insult simulator.
Sir!
And there's also a sequel or some related game, Oh Sir, with 2 exclamation points. The insult simulator. It's a game where you battle characters and you have to choose insults or combine options to make words that properly offend your opponent and pick on their weaknesses and such.
This is incredible.
And listening to what they say is really hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to check it out on the premise alone.
It seems like, I just thought it was like a stupid, like, app that says stupid things to you, but it turns out there's actually some sort of combat mechanic with this insult simulator.
Yeah, looking at the game features, it even says contentious battle system, employ combos, criticals, continuations, and other new mechanics to outwit your argumentative opponents.
Yes, and
so I feel like there's got to be a little more to it than just, you know, randomly slinging insults.
Yes. That's coming out this month, so we might not have to wait long. And lastly, down the pipe, we have Last Encounter coming Q2 of this year. And this is a twin stick spaceship roguelike for up to 4 players.
Oh, I love the art style for this. I just like that aesthetic overall. And I enjoy when games take advantage of that aesthetic.
Yeah, I'm curious how they're going to work in the roguelikeness with the multiplayer. Like, if
everyone dies, maybe then it wipes everyone's progress like a roguelike? Or
if one player dies, is he now out until everyone else dies? Does he have to, like, that's a problem I could see unless they, you know, just let you regenerate. Maybe you share a single pool of lives or something like that. I'm curious to see how they work that out.
Now, luckily, it looks like they're actually going to be at PAX South.
Oh.
So maybe I can preview it and let you guys know next time.
All right. All right. That's your mission.
No guarantees, but I'll try.
All right. Why don't you read us the new releases for today?
All right. So for today, January 11th, we have The Escapists 2, Super Meat Boy, Fury, Of Mice and Sand Revised, Moorhun Knights in Castles, Energy Invasion, Neo Geo Art of Fighting, as expected.
Yes.
Arcade Archives, Crazy Climber, Draw a Stickman Epic 2. We talked about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
And Jolt's Family Robot Racer.
Tomorrow, January 12th, is Ozkend 2, The World Beneath, and Brawl. Followed by January 15th, we get Gunhouse. And then January 16th, we have Inner Space, Nightmare Boy, and Energy Balance. And sometime next week, we're supposed to be getting some Neo Geo volleyball game called Power Spikes 2, which I saw is a kind of weird future combat super-powered volleyball sport.
Okay.
And it's played from 2D, so you see all your characters from the side. And I don't know, it's unusual, to say the least.
It definitely seems odd. It seems a little bit odd, but okay. Neo Geo.
All right, Community Pulse. Let's talk about what you guys have to say about, well, some things that are coming up. All right, so I wanted to start this Community Pulse off actually with an email that I got from a listener that I thought was worth sharing with all y'all.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so this email is from Mr. Childs, and he wrote, when you guys mention introducing people to the Switch by playing Snipper Clips or Mario Kart, I realized that I have introduced many people to the Switch by playing, possibly minor spoiler here, Bound Bowl in Mario Odyssey, the game with the cute little snowman that bounces around the track. I took it to Travel Meet for swim, and after competing each day, we would play that game for 1 to 2 hours, just trading off and even doing one person with Joy-Con and the other with the other, both controlling the same character.
That's awesome.
That is pretty crazy. In my personal experience, I have found that game to be the best way to get people hooked on the Switch, and it's just a mini game inside a huge game. I would also to add that I would love to see Pikmin on Switch, assuming it is not announced before your next episode is on the web. Thank you, Kevin.
That is so cool. Honestly, you know what, Bound Ball it's a ton of fun, and it may be a mini game, but there's actually a lot to it, and I'm very pleased that this person sent us an email letting us know that they're bringing in Switch players through this mini game.
I love
mode.
the idea of just, it kind of reminds me of like Tumbleseed, two people inventing a way to share the gameplay just by each controlling one half of the controller, and It's pretty genius, and I could totally see. I'm just picturing everyone just huddled around, taking turns playing this little, simple game, which is
Bamble.
And then he's like, "All right, I guess I'll play the full game now that everyone else went to sleep for the night. I guess I'll play Mario Odyssey."
Yeah. Oh man, I want to play more Bamble, but I can't. It's just I really love hearing stories like this. I love it when people get together, bring in casual players, regardless of the mode, and I especially love that it is, it's a throwaway multiplayer mode in a bigger game.
Yeah, pretty much. Thanks again for that email. Also, all right, so I put out the call. I asked everybody to message us what they would like to see or what they expect to see in the Direct when it comes. And we got an email from one Stephen Knox, and he actually wrote us, though, he asked us, we all saw that fake video about the new Nintendo Switch firmware. Yeah, that was going around for a little while there.
Oh, yeah. It's confirmed fake, absolutely.
Yes, totally. But what features would you want to see if a new Switch firmware was really announced? And that's actually a pretty good little thought experiment.
Yeah.
Other than, the first thing I saw there, changing the backgrounds, I kind of like that. It was just like a stupid little thing. Yeah, the little themes. I like those so much on the 3DS, and I liked, even if I couldn't just put any background I want, I did like when they came out with special themes to promote certain games, or, hey, download this today just to celebrate an event or some holiday. I thought that was kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, I feel like if they do release themes, it'd be really cool if they can, add, background music is controversial, but they should replace all the little clicks and sounds whenever you select or hover over an icon with the themes from whatever game it's featuring. Like if you're opening the settings menu, it could do the whole da-na-na-na thing from Zelda, or
right.
Or whenever you're switching to a different icon, it can be the rupee ding or something like that.
Yeah. And like I think the only other thing I really want to see is just a new, one of those stupid silly communication apps, like the one you got to draw with on the 3DS. And
Picto-chat?
Like the that's from the regular DS. But like when we had the one with
like Miiverse?
The one with the Miiverse, so that girl would teach you, or you got to draw like a picture and it would pass it automatically at anyone. Flipnote, maybe that was the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like something like that. I don't know. I just want to. I'm fine with how the system works. I just kind of want some stupid little, waste of time, fun thing to play with.
For me, I would go more practical. I would definitely want built-in integrated party systems. I think that would be really good. The fact that the netcode and Nintendo's online infrastructure is so segmented into each game, it's going to be difficult to really set that up properly in the Switch itself. But that's something I'd really want. See, also folders.
Oh, okay. I can see folders being pretty cool. I was thinking about what you were just saying, though, about, more organizational features for, teaming up with people. But I figured that they're going to try to put that all on the iPhone app. Yeah. I mean, I would like to say better integration with that app, but can't really say that until the application actually does something useful.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. This is something that it'll be very difficult to predict because we just don't know the extent of what Nintendo feels like they should add to the Switch itself.
Yeah. So let's just read off a few of these comments people left on social media. You want to kick us off with one or two?
Sure. So, to start us off, I will bring up Dan and Y. I expect the following. No Smash, Pokemon, or Metroid. We may hear some news on Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3, Yoshi, Kirby, Fire Emblem, some third-party stuff, but nothing mind-blowing. 3DS Kirby, Alice games, and a Nintendo game, maybe Pikmin 4 Switch. So yeah, he has a lot of predictions of his own. I do feel like they might not go into Smash or Pokemon this year, but, Metroid seems like it's plausible. It might be the next Breath of the Wild or Odyssey, honestly.
I do think that the way they teased it earlier, like last big direct, or was that E3 actually, where they teased the title screen basically.
Right.
I think that there's a chance of that, but
the fact that Metroid Prime had a logo means that it's more real to us than even Smash or Pokemon, which got halfway mentions. So I suspect Metroid Prime is going to come out this year, and it's likely to show up in the next big direct we get. So from Montague Lamas, he said, I can always hope for some kind of Monster Hunter news, but if we're being realistic, some more announced Wii U ports would be great, but I really just need some more co-op experiences in my life. I'm with you there. I am itching for some Monster Hunter news on the Switch. I'm super excited for Monster Hunter World on the PS4, but I just want to play everything on the Switch now. And I want Monster Hunter on the Switch. It just feels right.
Jeff Kappenberg, actually, we've had a lot of people who messaged along these same lines, but I think he captures it pretty well for me. Not Pokemon, not Metroid Prime 4, not Smash, not proof of extraterrestrial life, not anything that justifies E3 level excitement for a January Nintendo Direct. So he's just kind of going in totally no expectations.
He's tempering his expectations, which I don't blame him for. If you overhype this Nintendo Direct, it's very likely that you'll be disappointed because they might still be saving some stuff for E3 itself.
Yeah,
I think he's playing safe, which I understand.
I think that's a very reasonable thing, especially when everybody's flipping out and there's really nothing to tip you off. Like there is no evidence for anything, so everything we guess is purely speculation right now. So I mean, maybe you just have fun guessing. That's fine. Have the fun. But some of us do like to just go in calm and then just totally be blown away if a bomb drops.
Right. So from Twitter, Chewy Plays Nintendo said, I want to hear about Animal Crossing for Switch. I'm also really stoked about Fire Emblem. We haven't seen anything about Fire Emblem Switch for a year. So, honestly, I am very hesitant to say that there's going to be an Animal Crossing for the Switch anytime soon. I feel like Pocket Camp is kind of their focus for that franchise right now.
Actually, the only thing I expected and I predicted that would come out in January is
Mother 3.
Yeah, Mother 3 is what Odin-san has posted on Twitter. I'm doubtful, but I hope there are more details on their Switch online service, including what's replacing Virtual Console, since this year's supposed to be when the service becomes paid. That is the only thing. In fact, if this was a direct focused almost entirely on the online service, I would not be surprised. And that would be my main guess as the only thing I expect to come out, because it needs to come out. It's true, it's supposed to already become paid. They kind of held that off, which makes me think that maybe they either A, it wasn't totally ready to roll out all the features yet, or B, maybe they were like, all right, we're not ready to present it yet. And we want to, before we charge people, we want to really lay out all the things to be excited for and why you should pay for it.
Yeah, no kidding. I do think that this is a very good point. It's already 2018, so we really need to see how the Nintendo Switch online offering is going to expand from here, because it's light and you almost forget that it's even a thing.
Yeah, now we're just using it so casually and just we're not thinking about it. And I mean, that's a good thing in that you don't have to think about using the online service, but the longer they wait, the more weird it's going to feel when we do start paying for it, unless they show us some really awesome additions to it.
Especially since the online multiplayer is so siloed into each individual game right now. Doesn't feel like there's any integration or cohesion between any of the online game experiences. So I really would like for them to impress us with their online offerings in 2018. So Robert Andujar said, I can write a slew of predictions here, but my main prediction so far is that the Direct won't be out till February in order to properly appease fans after their last Direct. Oh boy, that would break so many hearts. Oh. That would break our hearts.
I think if they were planning for it in February, I think they'd be like, right now, they're like, guys, we have to do this like now. People are like slamming on the gates and they're going to invade the HQ and just, dig it out of our archives themselves if we don't give them a Direct.
Because honestly, January is kind of a dry month for Nintendo Switch games. And while it's good for us who have the too many games problem, there isn't a big heavy hitter this month, which is unusual for the Nintendo Switch. And we're all asking and aching for something to let us know that it won't be this way for extended periods of time.
I think what you said, though, makes a lot of sense. They do need not just a big one for the month. I think they need that Breath of the Wild level. This is the game of the year, possibly. Something that everyone's going to want to buy, regardless of your genre preferences. Something of that level. Maybe that would be like a Metroid Prime, or maybe ideally they can kind of pass the torch to some third parties now. That's the thing that would blow me away. If I had to pick one thing that would blow me away, is not just a big title, but a really big something from a third party
killer app.
Yeah, if they can get that and really confirm in people's minds that it's not all on Nintendo to make this system as a super successful in the future, that they have third parties who are also working to wow you every month. That's going to be the thing that propels it from not just being this phenomenal first year, but saying, you know what, maybe we can break that 48 million, total consoles record out there.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely don't think it's necessary or mandatory for Nintendo to do, but it would be a definite step up and a sign that the Nintendo's here to stay for third-party developers as well.
All right, do you have let's close out in our ritualistic fashion with our system switch. You've picked a game for this week too, right?
Yes, I did.
All right.
And for me...
Yeah, you can go.
Go ahead.
First?
And yeah, for me, my pick for this episode's system switch is the Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth series. This is essentially a reinvigoration of the Digimon franchise for video games. It's kind of pointing towards a more adult theme and harkens to the Persona series a little bit. This series is out on the PS4 and the Vita, and the fact that it's on the Vita really pains me because I want it to come out on the Switch instead so I can play it on the go. Honestly, I love these games a lot, and they really gave me confidence in Digimon video games again.
Cool.
Which is a big deal.
And my pick for a game that I want to see come over to the Switch from other consoles is Hakuoki, Memories of the Shinsengumi. I picked this.
Oh my gosh, it's this
reasons.
Game?
I picked this for a couple of reasons. This has been out on 100 systems. Like, it's been out on everything. So obviously it's not a hard game to... Yeah, no, it's been on 3DS, it's been on Vita, it's been on consoles, it's on PC. It's just been translated 100 times and re-released. So I just feel like the Switch would be one more console, and it is one of the most popular and a lot of people's first visual novels. All right, like real, like
Really?
hardcore visual novel game. This has been a gateway game for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people don't realize what they're about or how they're, they might be potential fans of this genre, just they don't know it because none of them have ever really, been available or in their face. So I think this is just a good pick because I want that genre to kind of flourish. And this is kind of the bannerman of that genre of just the pure visual novel. Like, I love Virtue's Last Reward, but those are like puzzle games and visual novels, which are great too. But this is purely about the story. You make a few choices. I'm a sucker for the romance, so that's kind of like a big part of it too. Yep. So, that's what it is. But that's what this genre is about. This is a genre that's about actual focus on the story. And so, yeah, if there's any chance for them to get a foothold, I think this would be a great one just to see lead the way for others.
Yeah, I can see that. That's a really good justification for it.
Yeah. All right. So I think that we are justified in ending this episode here, are we?
Yeah, I'm totally cool with it. So yeah, just to get us off into the sunsets, I definitely wanted to quickly mention our Patreon. That's patreon.com/theswitchcast. It's what we use to primarily fund our efforts here on the SwitchCast. We really appreciate any way you can support us in that route. Though, if you don't want to support us monetarily, please join the review crew. Rate us and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, be it Pocket Casts, Google Play, etc.
We also have a great Discord chat. Of course, you can go there and you can, talk with other people pretty much anytime, day or night, who are other likewise Switch fanatics. And we have little chat rooms for every specific game that's popular. We also have the Facebook group. That's really like our forum place. You can post topics, post your Switch picks, whatever you like, and just talk to each other there. Or follow us on Twitter at the SwitchCast, and we like to keep people up to date. Those are all great ways to join the community with us.
Thanks to the HeatleyBros for the theme music, and until next time,
switch it up!
I lost you again?
Hello?
Did I lose JV again? I must have.
So thanks to the HeatleyBros for the theme music. Oh.
No, there you are.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't hear you.
What happened? Oh,
I know.
Weird. Okay.